Hello everyone.
And welcome to Dad
and me
Love History.
Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
A special welcome to any new listeners. If you've got younger listeners, you should check out our early episodes. Do you know James was only 6 years old when we started recording for those first episodes? Now he's 12 and he's taller than his mum. For those of you who are double-digit listeners, that means people aged 10 to the end, you'll see in the last 20 episodes or so, we have included some deep topics, like the meaning of Veterans Day or Remembrance Day or Anzac Day. We cover all of that, and several episodes on aspects of World War II. I'm a history teacher, so I make sure there's warnings at the start of any episode that sounds like it could be scary. But even when we interviewed a Holocaust survivor who told us about life at school in Nazi Germany, his message was about hope and happiness.
But today really is an episode for everyone. Everyone who likes to travel anywhere.
Yeah, we're all about who invented cars and what are the most important changes been since the first cars were invented. We'll be checking all that out today. Human beings have been coming up with different ways to travel for thousands of years. The invention of the car, or automobile, made a major change in the way people travel. And the history of the car goes way back to Leonardo.
A Ninja Turtle invented a car?
Not exactly. Over 500 years ago in the 15th century, the great artist, designer and inventor Leonardo da Vinci drew designs and created models of what cars could look like and how they might work, like a car that would propel itself, not something you'd have to push or that you'd need a horse to pull. So in 1478, Leonardo da Vinci sketched on paper his best self-propelling car design. It was like a wind-up car, like a giant toy car that you might even see today.
Where did he sit?
That's the thing, they didn't actually, he designed the mechanism so it could move, but never actually got around to putting a seat on it. But like James has said, there's no seat on that one, so we're not going to give the award for who invented the first car to Leonardo da Vinci.
Or steering wheel.
Oh, it's not even a steering wheel, no. That's for sure.
So you wind it up, jump on board, and then it could travel about 40 meters before you need to wind it up again.
Yeah, okay, I didn't say it was a good car, and Leonardo only designed a car. He didn't build one as far as we know. The first person to actually build a self-propelled car was Frenchman Nicolas Joseph Cugnot. His car had a steam engine, and it was on show in Paris in 1769 for people to come and see. That's over a century, 100 years before the Eiffel Tower was built. Cugnot's vehicle had 3 wheels and was powered by the steam produced by heating water. It worked, but it needed to stop every 10 to 12 minutes due to running out of steam pressure which powered the engine. The car reached a speed of about between 3 and 4.5 kilometres an hour. So if you did fast walking, you'd be going the same speed as the car. If you started jogging, you'd be running ahead of it. However, it was impossible to steer well because of the huge weight of the water boiler which hung over the front, in between the wheels, over the front axles, because it needed so much water for the steam power. And that water would be heated up.
In one of its first test drives, it drove straight into a wall.
I guess they managed to tweak it a bit and improve it after that, because the French army apparently used it as a tractor, like useful for moving heavy equipment.
What do you get when dinosaurs crash their cars?
Tyrannosaurus Rex?
Yeah! Okay, but we've still not got a proper car that people will go out and buy. Who invented that? I bet it was Ford or Benz.
True, they both play a big role in the invention of really what we would call motor cars. In 1885, German engineer and designer Carl Benz, whose company later becomes known as Mercedes-Benz, builds the first car powered by gasoline, as they say in America, or petrol engine. It only had 3 wheels, and it looked similar to a carriage, like a horse-drawn carriage. So, as we've seen, there were earlier inventions that used steam power to move vehicles, but Benz's car was the first to use gasoline or petrol in what's called an internal combustion engine, which is what most cars have had ever since then. So, that was 1885. It was known as the Benz Motor Wagon, and it's still considered to be the world's first car. What do you make of that, James, looking at the picture of it?
Looks a bit strange.
It does look like it needs a horse in front of it.
Yeah.
I'm quite impressed at how the engine...
So small.
Exactly. You'd think the first engines would have to be huge to get anywhere. I mean, I suppose it did only do a few miles an hour.
How do you steer?
I'm glad you asked. So steering, until the year 1900, steering was done by a tiller. So like a stick that you'd move, like you have on yachts or small sailing boats.
Oh, yeah.
I know big ones have a steering wheel, but the smaller ones you sit at the back and you move the stick from side to side. That's how the steering worked there. And on this one, so 1 year after Benz's motor wagon came out, in 1886 in Michigan, USA, Henry Ford built his first automobile. That had 4 wheels. So similar idea, kind of a seat for 2 people, which is kind of on top of the engine, and 4 wheels, and like a tiller, a stick to steer left and right with.
What do you say to a frog who needs a ride?
I don't know. What do you say to a frog who needs a ride?
Hop in.
From 1900, we begin to see steering wheels replacing those sticks. In 1906, in Alabama, I believe this was the first US state to set a maximum speed limit. Guess how many miles per hour you were allowed to go in 1906?
It's either going to be a really big number or a really small number.
Yeah, they could say 1,000 and they wouldn't have had a car that could go anywhere near that.
4 miles per hour.
4 miles per hour is a pretty good guess. They actually set a limit of 8 miles per hour.
So you could run faster than that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be sprinting there. Runners out there, you'll be able to write in and tell us on our various social media. Tell us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram if 8 miles an hour, if you can run faster than that. In 1908, Henry Ford began producing very reliable cars that anyone could drive and more people could afford. So you can imagine those very first cars were complete luxuries. In fact, the very first ones were only built as like a one-off. By the time Benz comes around in 1885, they start making multiple copies, but they really are expensive at that time. In 1913, Henry Ford got really good at building cars quickly. His famous car, the Model T, they used to produce 7.5 cars per hour. And they increased that by 1913 to 146 cars per hour, thanks to the use, for the first time for building cars, of an assembly line. Do you know what an assembly line is?
No.
So the way they used to build, when they're only building 7.5 cars per hour, and we don't know how many people that was, but they would all focus on one car. So they would have the axles and the wheels and the engine or the parts of the engine, and they'd all be working on this one car. Assembly line means and please forgive me if I get this in the wrong order, but you might start with the kind of wheel base, so that the very bottom where the axles will be, and that gets rolled along by a machine to the next people who might fix the wheels on, and then it gets rolled along to the next people who might fit the engine in. So you become an expert at your one job, and the cars get rolled along to you, and you get quicker and quicker and better at doing it. Anyway, in 1924, the first car radios are introduced, so you get to listen to music in the car. In 1940, the first vehicle that can go off-road with 4-wheel drive. That means power goes to all 4 wheels, whereas for most cars it would only go to 2 wheels at the front or the back. It's designed in 1940 especially for the US military, World War II's there, And this becomes known, of course, as the
Jeep.
The Jeep, and we still know that today. So that's the first four-wheel drive.
I just got 9 out of 10 on my driver's test. The last guy was able to get out of the way though.
In the 1960s, seatbelts come into some cars, although in most places you don't have to wear one until laws come in the 1980s. So when I was a kid, I remember the law coming in that said if you were in the front, you had to wear seatbelts, and then most cars wouldn't even fit seatbelts in the back. Well, then it was a few years later they decided actually we should fit them in the back as well. So those laws came in when I was growing up. Anyway, around the time of the 1990s, partly due to the rising cost of petrol, gasoline, and because of the impact of global climate change, electric vehicles came back into production. That's right, I did say back, because there were experiments even in the 19th century, that's the 1800s, of electric vehicles. So James has done some more research on the story of the electric car.
The first time electricity was ever put into a car was in 1884 when Thomas Parker made the first part electric car, which he made in the London Underground, nearby where he lived. After Thomas did that, another inventor made an electric car, but it was fully electrical. It was made by William Morris in 1890s USA, but it only went 23 kilometres per hour, so you couldn't drive it on a highway or motorway. The La Gemesis Continenti was the first ever fully electric car that could go over 100 kilometres per hour.
Over 100 kilometres an hour. So we've just jumped from, with the last one you said, 1890, 23 kilometres an hour. So I'm thinking to go over 100 kilometres, fully electric. This has got to be like 1960s or even more recent than that to us today.
It was actually built in 1899 by Belgian scientists.
1899, wow.
But there was one problem about the car.
What was that?
It looked a bit funny. It looks like a massive bullet on wheels.
Oh, you found a photo to show me as well. It literally is a massive bullet on wheels. We are going to put that on our webpage, danandmelovehistory.com. That can be the photo for this episode. Wow, what an amazing looking car. 1899, fully electric, and it went over 100 kilometres per hour.
Yeah. If a car's chasing you, you definitely get tired. But if you chase a car, you get exhausted.
Of course, 2003, Tesla begins selling their fully electric cars, and there are all sorts of brands doing electric cars today. So, we've seen a lot of car history today. What do you think was the most important bit of the invention of the car in its history?
Maybe when they put electric into it, because that really helps our climate.
Yeah, of course, depending on where that electricity comes from. But if you're getting it from clean sources like, say, solar, then yeah, that could well be the future. So when your kids, James, are listening to this episode in the future, listening to their dad, they're going to be saying, yeah, of course it's all about electric cars. Why did you even bother with those other cars, people? And on that theme, I mean, that bullet car that you showed me earlier was just wow. I think that's the highlight for me. Anyway, please share our podcast on social media and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
And tell us what you think on Facebook
And Instagram.
and Twitter. Bye from now.
From Dad
And me.
Love History.
Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
Here are some questions to see how well you understood today's episode.
Number 1. Over 500 years ago, who made the first design for a mechanical wind-up car?
Number 2. What was built first? A steam-powered car or the Eiffel Tower?
Number 3. In 1885, who built the first car powered by gasoline or petrol engine?
Number 4. Who made assembly lines that could build lots of cars quickly?
Number 5. Until the 1900s, what would you move to steer a car?
And finally, question 6. When was the first fully electric car that could go over 100 kilometres per hour built?
Oh, we're recording. Okay. Joke 1. What do you get when a dinosaur crashes their car?
I don't know. What do you get when a dinosaur crashes its car?
No, I can't. I don't know how to say Triceratops. Like,
Show me.
then you know the answer.
I know, but at least we can finish.
Like the big dinosaur, the most famous dinosaur in the world.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay. What do you get when dinosaurs crash their car?
I don't know. What do you get when dinosaurs crash their car?
I don't know. Can you just answer it?
Yeah, okay.
It's wait.
Tyrannosaurus.
Rex.
Rex, yeah.
Like a Rex, like you wrecked your car.
Yep. That's Messi trying to join in the background if you can hear some meowing. She gets a bit jealous that we hog the mic.
The La Gemesis Contitin. So if I get that pronunciation. Okay. I'm the pigeon.
Yeah.
What kind of car does Yoda drive?
I don't know. What kind of car does Yoda drive?
A Toyota.
A Toyota.